Hello, BookTube. Almost let the day go by without a mail haul. Can't have that, can we? It's been a really, really good day. I spent a long, lazy morning with my little Frida Bean, who's really not up for anything before 10 or 11. She's really not a morning person at all. Just sort of flounces around. She'll periodically heave herself to her feet, stagger a few inches on the bed, and then collapse again. It's all very, very melodramatic. But it gives me time in the morning to read and to write, and I did that. I also do all of the overnight emails. And it was just wonderful to hear the bird song, feel the cool of the morning, without any kind of pressure to get up and march around. Of course, all this is in the shadow of our 5 a.m. walk. So I guess there's a small trade-off. Frida requires a short walk at 5 a.m. That's a 5 to 5:30 a.m., almost never any later than that, and the answer is that she will do it. She's not put off. With other dogs that have wanted to get up early, I've had the ability to instill a kind of snooze alarm, let them know, no, wait a bit, wait an hour or two, but not with Frida, absolutely not. So, but it's over before it starts, really. It's not that much to ask. Check back with me in the middle of winter for a different opinion on that subject, but right now, it's no problem at all. And then in exchange for that, I get the whole morning, the whole long length of the morning as the day brightens the room. And then I went and did some errands out in the glorious, gorgeous, all-encompassing heat here in Boston. And then we went on a very brief walk. By then it was 92 or 93 degrees Fahrenheit here, very, very hot. So and Frida does not handle the heat well at all. If it's the slightest bit warm, she starts panting. In some ways, she seems even to handle the heat worse than my fat old Basset Hound, which is saying something. But I'll have to figure it out as we go along. She's still young. But then I had a friend over, a young friend of mine who was in town for a couple of days. And once our visit moved on to conversation, he was talking about, YouTube, because he has a YouTube channel, and it has well over 1 million subscribers. And so we can talk about his YouTube experiences, but they're on another plane of existence from my own. And at one point in the conversation, he suddenly realized, I guess I said something that I hadn't mentioned before, which is that I have a YouTube channel of my own. He was amazed, absolutely amazed. He had said, "You?" Like I was a million years old. So I told him a little bit about this channel. And he of course immediately wanted to look it up on his phone, see the details for himself. One of the first things he screamed out was that I have made 5 times as many videos as he's made. But he said, so you're doing videos about books. But you're like, he said, but you're like Mr. Books. So why do you have only this many subscribers? And I said, the channel's subscriber count is perfectly healthy by me. I have noticed that in the last month it seems to have plateaued just a bit. But that's still fine. But it's still an enormous number for me, in my opinion, but not in his. He loses as many subscribers as I have in one day, with one misspoken word in one of his videos, and then gets them back and more. And in the middle of in the midst of that conversation, he said, "Oh man, let me do something about this. I could make a video. I could blow your channel up." And when he said that, it immediately reminded me I'd been having an email exchange with another booktuber who also has a large number of subscribers, and in that email exchange, I mentioned that my channel seems to have plateaued, and that I'm wondering if I'm doing something wrong. And that YouTuber, in addition to saying, "No, it's just natural. It fluxes up and down. We've all experienced it." That booktuber also immediately said, "I can help you if you want." I swear, I know the nicest people. And in both cases, the minute the suggestion was made, I realized that I don't really want the help. There are plenty of you for me. We've gone through thick and thin together. A lot of you came to this channel hearing that I was Satan incarnate and learned that I'm more tedious but less evil than Satan incarnate. You all helped me so much. when I was losing my girls. And you've all been wonderful about writing, about encouragement, about disagreements, about my little Frida Bean. I don't know what would happen to that dynamic if I had well over 1 million subscribers like my young friend today. I have no idea. I can't help but think, just from what I've seen in booktubers, and YouTubers, I should say, that it would disappear, that dynamic would disappear, that it would morph into something else that I probably wouldn't like as much. I don't know. I kind of like the feel of conversation. But in addition to that, my young friend and I also opened the mail. We opened a great big pile of mail. I'm very sorry about that. We actually not only opened the mail, but he filmed it. He just filmed a ton of footage about opening the mail. I told him, you probably shouldn't use that on your channel. I don't actually want him to blow up this channel. I'm perfectly happy with it in its current undetonated state. But then, after a long while, after the whole of the afternoon was getting towards sunset, he left. And I did a few more emails, and I read a little more, and I wrote a little more. And then it occurred to me, now that the sun is completely down behind the Arboretum, it occurred to me that we haven't opened mail ourselves. That's not right. And I do have a little more mail. I have 2 packages. 2 only. And compensating for the fact that there are only 2 packages are 2 big things. One, they're both boxes, which can often be good for Steve. And 2, they're both from W.W. Norton, which is, aside from Penguin Classics, probably my favorite publisher in the world. Many people, many bookish friends of mine over the decades have told me, you really ought to just go and work for Norton. And I don't think that would work, because they would require me to wear pants. And they might even take a dim view of this channel. And I certainly couldn't review their books. I would have to sing the praises of their books, yes. And I've almost always am able to do that, but that has a downside. If in some hypothetical world in which Norton was in any way interested in having me work for them, and I sang the praises of their books, nobody would believe me. I would be on their payroll. I would lose the cachet of telling you this is actually a beautiful and important book from Norton, because it would be my job to say that every Norton book is beautiful and important. But anyway, so we've got these 2 boxes, and I would go through them together as sort of an end-of-the-day anticlimactic mail haul. But, I mean, over 1 million subscribers. He gets money. He was astonished that I don't have some sort of self-help book. He himself is into self-help. He's big into self-help. And, of course, Jordan Peterson's name came up in conversation. Jordan Peterson, I learned today, makes $150,000 a week on Patreon. Or maybe it was a month. One way or another. Maybe it was a month. But one way, Patreon's a month. $150,000 a month on Patreon. Just for being Jordan Peterson. For writing a book, that 12 Rules for Life, that is... I've read it, and it is inexplicable to me. Utterly inexplicable. Same thing with all these YouTube channels giving shy, socially maladjusted young men all sorts of tips on how to socialize. Here, your body posture should be like this. You should remember to smile. Make sure to shake hands. Ask people how they're doing. Ask them questions rather than dominate the conversation. Stuff that I would think a schoolchild would know, and yet YouTube is full of millionaires who became that way by catering to giving simple answers to people that apparently lack them. I attribute the fact of Jordan Peterson's astronomical success in getting young men to marginally straighten out their own lives to the decline of the Roman Catholic Church. I don't see what other correlation I can draw. Every single one of these young men that thinks that pet a cat on the street or clean up your room is premium advice is a young man who has a sore lacking of the Jesuits in his life. And my friend this afternoon was saying, well, man, if you haven't written a self-help book, you really ought to. Go ahead and do it. I don't know what I do with that money either. Anyway, Okay, this first book is an early August release. I have already read it. It is fantastic. I'm going to reread it now. And I'm also going to write about it. I'm going to write about it in August. This is by Julia Boyd, and it is Travelers in the Third Reich. The Rise of Fascism, 1919 to 1945. Without the benefit of hindsight, how do you interpret what's right in front of your eyes? You don't need hindsight to interpret what's right in front of your eyes correctly. All you have to do is remember two simple words. Ask Steve. Okay. The events that took place in Germany between 1919 and 1945 were dramatic and terrible, but there were also moments of confusion, of doubt, even of hope. How easy was it to know what was actually going on, to grasp the essence of National Socialism, to remain untouched by the propaganda, or to predict the Holocaust? Travelers in the Third Reich is an extraordinary history of the rise of the Nazis based on fascinating first-hand accounts, drawing together a multitude of voices and stories, including politicians, musicians, diplomats, schoolchildren, communists, scholars, athletes, poets, fascists, artists, tourists, and even celebrities like Charles Lindbergh and Samuel Beckett. Their experiences create a remarkable three-dimensional picture of Germany under Hitler. These are the accidental eyewitnesses to history. I'm not really sure. I'm be interested in rereading this and digging into it again. Reading it the first time, I got a slight feeling of a railway car being diverted. There is an actual book to be written. In fact, there are 4 that I've already read on the subject of traveling under the aegis of the Third Reich. What was German travel like then? The state encouraged Germans to travel, to take healthy vacations. There were all sorts of subsidies. And those changed over time as the regime became more hard and fast. And this is not about that. This is more about the travelers in the Third Reich, alluded to in the title here, is more about people out and about seeing the whole of the Reich. One way or another, boy, can Julia Boyd write. Oh my, I can't wait to read this again. That's fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, glad to have it. And then we have the second box, the worst possible outcome here. The worst possible scenario would be if there was a clerical error and this is another copy of Travelers in the Third Reich. That would be bad. We'll just have to hope. We'll have to hope that isn't true. Let's see what this next one is from W.W. Norton. Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. This is the finished copy of The Spy of Venice, a William Shakespeare novel by Bennett Brandeth. When he is caught by his wife in one ill-advised seduction too many, young William Shakespeare flees Stratford to seek his fortune. Cast adrift in London, Will falls in with a band of players, but greater men have their eye on this talented young wordsmith. Will finds himself dispatched to Venice on a crucial assignment with England's very survival hanging in the balance. And I read a bit of this. I had an advance copy. I think we've seen it on this channel. I read a bit of this and then stopped. I don't know why, because the bit I read, probably 30 or 40 pages, and it was fantastic. So I don't know why I stopped. I wish the 30 or 40 pages that I read made me wish. I think this series has gone on, right? Those of you in the UK, you can account for 2 or 3 of these at least, right? I wish that I had the whole set right here in front of me, because it's very addictive reading historical fiction. So that's great. These are these are right up Steve's alley. There's a book that combines Shakespeare and Venice, and there's a history of the Third Reich. So what can I say? The second mail haul of the day was every bit as much fun as the first, only this one I get to share with you. So that's it for today. But I'll be back tomorrow. I as far as I know, my young guest is not coming back tomorrow. We shall see. If he does, could be a 1 video a day. It could be a 2 video a day. If he doesn't, then the sky's the limit. One way or another, it's going to be 95 delicious degrees tomorrow. I can't wait. But in the meantime, I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.